The twin sons of Zinara had barely risen when Eli received the summons from Princess Lyra. His heart raced with anticipation. Today was different. Yesterday had been about trials and personal growth, but today would test how humans could adapt in a real-world situation alongside the alien princess. Eli arrived at the palace's floating observatory, a structure suspended high above Zinara's sparkling oceans. Platforms of transparent crystal connected in intricate patterns, reflecting the golden light and creating the illusion of walking among the clouds. Lyra was already there, standing with arms crossed, her eyes scanning the horizon. Human, she said sharply, your lessons continue today, but now they are practical. A minor threat has emerged from the neighboring system of Kaelara. They are sending scouts toward our borders. Your role is simple, yet critical. Help us assess the situation and provide solutions that avoid conflict. Can you do this? Eli nodded. Yes, Princess. I'll do my best. Lyra's expression softened, just slightly. See that you do. Observation alone will not suffice. Your human ingenuity must be applied. They stepped onto a wide observation platform, overlooking a shimmering holographic map of Zinara and its neighboring systems. Tiny points of light move across the projection. Kaelara scouts approaching, slow but deliberate. Eli leaned over, studying the hologram carefully. Eli, Lyra said, humans often approach problems differently. How would you handle this? Eli took a deep breath. We need to understand the scouts' intent before responding. Sending defensive forces immediately might provoke them. I suggest a two-step plan. First, gather intelligence without detection. Second, prepare diplomatic options in case contact is unavoidable. Lyra raised an eyebrow. Intelligence gathering? And how do you propose humans achieve this without alerting them? Eli pointed to a small fleet of unmanned drones stationed nearby. These drones can observe their movement patterns from a distance. We can analyze communication signals and flight paths. Once we understand their intentions, we can decide whether to approach peacefully or take precautions. Lyra nodded slowly. Clever. And your intuition tells you this is the right approach? Eli smiled faintly. Intuition, observation, and experience. Humans have learned that sometimes patience and planning are stronger than immediate action. The princess considered his words for a moment before motioning toward the control consoles. Very well, you may proceed. Let us see if human strategy holds up in practice. Eli approached the consoles, fingers flying over the controls as he calibrated the drones. Each tiny craft lifted silently, moving through the air currents, slipping past planetary defenses undetected. Ellie's mind worked like clockwork, processing data from multiple sources, analyzing flight paths, and listening to faint transmissions. Lyra watched silently, occasionally tilting her head in curiosity. You're kind. You do not rely solely on strength, yet you are confident in your ability to succeed. Fascinating. Hours passed as Eli monitored the drones, decoding signals and noting patterns. Slowly, a clearer picture emerged. The Kaelara scouts were unarmed and seemed to be mapping planetary resources rather than preparing an attack. Eli compiled the information and turned to Lyra. Princess, based on what we've observed, the scouts do not intend to harm Zinara. They are exploring, likely assessing resources for trade or settlement. If we approach carefully, we can establish contact peacefully and perhaps even negotiate beneficial agreements. Lyra's eyes softened. Human, your caution and clarity are impressive. Many of my people would have jumped to defense without considering alternatives. You may have prevented conflict before it even began. Eli felt a surge of pride, but kept his tone measured. It's what humans do. We observe, analyze, and act. Sometimes cautiously, sometimes boldly, but always aiming for the best outcome. Lyra nodded, clearly impressed. Then we shall proceed. You will join me in the initial contact. Let us see if human ingenuity can extend beyond strategy to diplomacy. Eli followed her to a smaller platform, equipped for communication and negotiation. Lyra activated a hololink, projecting the Kaelara scouts before them. The scouts were cautious, their alien forms shimmering with iridescent patterns. Eli noticed their hesitation and realized that humans, And Zenari were not the only species capable of curiosity and caution. "Greetings," Lyra called, her voice clear and commanding. "I am Princess Lyra of Zenara. We observe your presence near our borders. What is your intent?" There was a pause. Eli stepped forward, adding his voice in careful, measured tones. "We mean no harm. Our goal is understanding and cooperation. Perhaps we can learn from each other and avoid conflict before it begins." The Kalara leader, a tall figure with eyes like molten silver, tilted their head. "We seek knowledge and trade. We have no quarrel with Zenara. Your caution honors your world." Eli felt a thrill. His human reasoning had worked. By observing first, analyzing the situation, and choosing measured action, they had prevented a potential misunderstanding from escalating. Lyra glanced at him, a faint smile on her lips. "Human, your methods are effective. I see now why your kind survives in even the most challenging situations." He nodded, trying to hide the rush of pride in his chest. "It is teamwork, Princess. Humans alone achieve little. Understanding others, listening, and observing is what makes progress possible." Over the next hour, Eli and Lyra coordinated with the Kalara scouts. They shared maps, exchanged information, and established preliminary agreements for trade routes and cultural exchanges. Every step required careful consideration, diplomacy, and compromise. Ellie's human insight helped the Zenari navigate the negotiations smoothly, balancing caution with optimism. When the last hololink faded, Lyra turned to him. "Eli, you have proven your worth beyond personal trials. You are capable of seeing beyond fear and pride. You have bridged worlds today, human, and perhaps forged alliances where others would have failed." Eli felt a warmth he had never known. "Thank you, Princess. I only did what humans do best. We adapt, we learn, and we try to make things right." Lyra's gaze lingered on him, a mixture of curiosity and approval. "Yes, humans are remarkable. You see opportunities where others see threats. Perhaps this is why your kind continues to spread among the stars." The sun dipped lower, casting long shadows across the floating observatory. Eli and Lyra stood side by side, surveying the peaceful horizon. For the first time, Eli felt that the walls between species were not as high as they had seemed. Through observation, courage, and understanding, humans could connect with even the most distant cultures. Lyra finally broke the silence. "Human, you have earned a measure of respect, not just for surviving trials, but for applying knowledge, courage, and patience to a real situation. These qualities, they are worth noting." Eli bowed slightly. "I am honored, Princess, and I will continue to learn and apply them." She allowed a faint smile, almost playful this time. "Do not become complacent, human. Tomorrow may bring new challenges. But for now, you have done well." As Eli returned to his quarters that evening, he reflected on the day's events. The Kalara scouts had been careful, curious, and cautious, yet human reasoning and diplomacy had bridged the gap. Observation, patience, and courage had not only prevented conflict, but had opened the door to potential alliances. He opened his diary and carefully documented the day. He wrote about strategy, observation, diplomacy, and negotiation. He noted the courage it took to act when stakes were high, and the humility required to listen as much as speak. And he added one more reflection. Humans may be small in a galaxy of stars, but our curiosity, intelligence, and heart allow us to connect, understand, and protect. We adapt, we learn, we survive. Eli paused, looking at the twin suns setting over Zenara. Their golden light reflected off the ocean below, creating a shimmering path that seemed to stretch across the universe itself. He smiled. Humans may stumble, make mistakes, and sometimes be misunderstood, but they could also inspire, adapt, and unite worlds. And somewhere high above the oceans, Princess Lyra watched the horizon, a thoughtful expression on her face. Ellie's actions had not only impressed her, but had shown her that humans were more than observers. They were collaborators, problem solvers, and perhaps even friends worth trusting. For Eli, this was only the beginning. Many challenges awaited, but with courage, intelligence, and empathy, humans could thrive in the galaxy. And he, with all his quirks, humor, and determination, was ready to prove it one observation, one solution, one careful choice at a time. The morning air on Zanara carried a gentle chill, unusual for the planet, but refreshing as it brushed across Ellie's face. Today was unlike any other day he had experienced. Princess Lyra had summoned him to the Crystal Arena, a vast, open structure carved from translucent stone that shimmered in the twin suns' light. It was a place where Zanari tested courage, intelligence, and character, a place where nothing could be hidden, and every action was observed. Eli swallowed nervously as he stepped onto the smooth floor. The arena's walls reflected the sunlight, turning the space into a dazzling hall of light. Strange symbols floated above, projected by unknown alien technology. Lyra stood in the center, regal and composed, her arms folded. She wore ceremonial armor that gleamed softly, signaling that this challenge was serious. "You, human," she said, her voice echoing in the arena, "have proven some measure of understanding. Yet understanding alone is not enough. You will now undergo trials to show your character, your adaptability, and your respect for my people. Fail, and your position here will be reconsidered." Eli nodded, trying to hide the nervous flutter in his chest. "I understand, Princess. I will do my best." Lyra raised a hand, and a series of floating platforms appeared before him, suspended midair across the arena. Each platform bore a different challenge. Some had puzzles etched into the surface. Others contained delicate objects that required careful handling, and a few demanded physical agility, bouncing on narrow ledges suspended over a sparkling, crystal-clear pool. "Your trials will test three things," Lyra explained: intellect, courage, and diplomacy. Each is equally important. Begin. Eli approached the first platform, a smooth surface covered with shifting symbols. They glowed faintly, rearranging themselves as he touched them. He recognized the patterns as a kind of puzzle, something to decode. He knelt, analyzing each symbol carefully. His human mind worked methodically, drawing on logic and memory. Minutes passed as he studied the puzzle. Sweat formed on his brow, but he persisted, matching symbols with their counterparts and arranging sequences until a satisfying glow indicated the puzzle was solved. The first platform hummed approvingly, and Eli allowed himself a small, triumphant smile. Lyra observed silently, her expression unreadable. "Interesting," she murmured. "Humans are persistent, perhaps not entirely without merit." He moved to the next platform, which held a series of fragile crystal spheres floating in midair. They were beautiful, but a single wrong movement could shatter them. Eli realized this test required precision and patience, traits that humans often struggled with. Yet he also knew they were capable of focus when necessary. He extended his hands carefully, one sphere at a time. He held his breath, moving slowly, adjusting his balance, and letting instinct guide him. With careful patience, he transferred each sphere to a designated pedestal without breaking a single one. The spheres glowed warmly when placed correctly, a silent acknowledgement of success. Lyra's eyes flicked over him, approvingly, though she said nothing. She simply gestured to the next challenge. This time, the platform was higher, suspended over a shallow pool of luminous liquid that reflected the arena's light like liquid diamonds. Eli needed to cross it without falling. The path was narrow, requiring balance and courage. As he stepped onto the first narrow ledge, he felt the subtle sway beneath his feet. One misstep, and he could plunge into the glowing pool below. He remembered the lessons from the gardens: observation, patience, and courage. Each step, he focused on weight distribution, breathing steadily, and keeping his mind clear. Halfway across, the platform shifted slightly, a test of adaptability. Eli adjusted instinctively, and slowly, carefully, he reached the far side. He exhaled in relief as his feet touched solid ground. Lyra's eyes softened slightly. "Courage, adaptability. You demonstrate qualities that some Zanari adults fail to master. Impressive, human." The final challenge was unexpected. Two small alien delegates appeared, their expressions curious and cautious. Eli was to negotiate a minor dispute between them, finding a solution that satisfied both parties. This test was as much about understanding as it was about logic. Eli approached them slowly, bowing slightly to show respect. He listened carefully as they explained their disagreement and misunderstanding about resource allocation on a nearby research station. He noted the concerns of each delegate, then offered a solution that incorporated fairness and mutual benefit. While preserving the Zenari customs he had observed, the delegates nodded in agreement, visibly impressed. Eli had bridged the gap between their perspectives without favoring one over the other. Lyra clapped once, sharply, the sound echoing in the arena. "Human, you have completed the trials. You have demonstrated intelligence, patience, courage, and diplomacy. Most importantly, you have shown respect for my people and your willingness to learn from your mistakes." Eli felt a surge of pride. "Thank you, Princess. I could not have done this without your guidance and the lessons I have learned here." Lyra studied him closely. "Guidance, perhaps. Or perhaps your own determination carried you through. Humans, you are capable of growth in ways many do not anticipate. You stumble, you fail, yet you continue. That is remarkable." Eli smiled. "We learn by trying, Princess, and sometimes by failing. But every failure teaches something valuable." Lyra tilted her head, considering. "Yes, valuable. Perhaps that is why you are here, and why I chose to test you in this way. Your people have a strength I respect: curiosity, persistence, and the courage to face unknown challenges. These are qualities worth noting." For the first time, Eli sensed genuine approval in her voice. "Thank you, Princess. I promise to continue learning and improving, not just for myself, but to understand your people and your world better." Lyra's lips curved into a faint, almost playful smile. "You speak earnestly, human. Perhaps your humor, though reckless at times, was not entirely misplaced. You observe, you note, you reflect. That is human ingenuity, I suppose. Perhaps it is what allows your kind to survive among the stars." Eli laughed lightly, a sound of relief and satisfaction. "I suppose so, Princess. Humans are strange, but we do try our best." Lyra gestured to the arena exit. "You may leave, human, but know this: tomorrow, new lessons await. Challenges will continue, as will the need for vigilance, patience, and respect. Fail to uphold these values, and your place here will be reconsidered." Eli bowed deeply. "I understand, Princess. I will do my best." As he left the arena, he felt a mixture of exhaustion and exhilaration. The trials had tested him in ways he never expected, but he had proven something not just to Lyra, but to himself. Human qualities: adaptability, curiosity, courage, and empathy could shine even in alien contexts, bridging worlds that seemed impossibly different. Returning to his quarters, Eli carefully documented each trial in his diary. He wrote down the puzzles, the delicate spheres, the narrow ledges, and the negotiation with the delegates. Each entry was filled not just with observations, but reflections on what he had learned. Respect is key. Patience saves lives. Courage is not absence of fear, but action despite it. Diplomacy requires listening as much as speaking. He paused and added one final note: humans may stumble, but we continue. And sometimes that is enough to earn trust, respect, and perhaps even friendship across the stars. As he closed the diary, Eli felt a deep sense of purpose. The trials were more than tests; they were a bridge between two worlds. And he had crossed that bridge, proving that humans, with all their quirks, mistakes, and humor, could inspire admiration in even the most discerning alien minds. Eli fell asleep that night with the twin suns setting outside his window, their light painting the room in shades of gold and lavender. Tomorrow would bring new lessons, new challenges, and new opportunities to prove that humans, curious, persistent, and full of heart, could not only survive but thrive among the stars. And somewhere across the palace gardens, Princess Lyra watched the setting suns as well. A faint smile lingered on her lips. Perhaps the human before her was more than a source of amusement. Perhaps he was a reminder that even across the vastness of space, understanding, respect, and courage could unite the most unlikely of allies. The next morning, Eli woke to the soft hum of the aurora. Light filtered through the observation windows, painting the room in shades of orange and gold from Zinara's twin sons. Today, he would accompany Princess Lyra to the palace gardens, a place where alien flora thrived in brilliant, antique colors and delicate patterns. He had been warned Zinari culture valued grace, awareness, and careful speech, and one misstep could cause offense. Eli checked his notes again, brushing his fingers over the pages as if they could reassure him. Be respectful. Observe carefully. Humor must be gentle. When he arrived, Lyra was already waiting at the palace entrance. She wore ceremonial robes that shimmered like liquid starlight, and her long, silver lavender hair flowed behind her in the light breeze. Her eyes sparkled, though Eli suspected she had not yet forgiven him for the diary incident. Human, she said sharply as he approached. I trust you will behave today. The gardens are not a place for foolishness. I will, Princess, Eli said, bowing slightly. I want to understand your world, not offend it. Lyra gave a small, imperceptible nod. Very well, then follow me. The gardens stretched endlessly, a symphony of color and life. Trees with translucent leaves swayed gently, their branches shaped like elegant spirals. Flowers glowed faintly with their own natural light, and strange insects flitted like living jewels. The air smelled sweet, with a hint of something floral Eli couldn't name. As they walked, Eli tried to focus on his studies. He took notes on the plants, the way the sunlight refracted through leaves, and the gentle rhythm of water flowing in hidden streams. Yet he couldn't ignore the princess's presence beside him. She moved gracefully, her gaze sweeping over the gardens as if she were part of the world itself. So, Lyra said after a long pause, tell me, human, why do you find humor in things that might embarrass others? Eli hesitated. He had been asked this question many times by fellow humans, but explaining it to an alien princess was another matter. Humor, he began slowly, is how humans often connect. Sometimes we notice small things that seem funny, strange, or unusual, and we write them down. We don't mean harm. It's a way to understand the world, and sometimes it helps us cope with stress or confusion. Lyra raised an eyebrow. Stress or confusion? So, humans laugh at what they do not understand? Eli shook his head quickly. Not exactly. We laugh at life, at surprises, at ourselves sometimes. But it's always meant to be light, not cruel. Lyra studied him, silent for a long moment. Then she said, I see. Perhaps you are more complex than I imagined, but your ways remain unusual. Eli smiled, a little relieved. Thank you for trying to understand, Princess. Their walk continued in silence, punctuated only by the soft rustle of leaves and the distant calls of exotic birds. Eventually, they reached a section of the garden with a small platform overlooking a sparkling lake. The water reflected both suns, creating a dazzling display of light. This is one of my favorite places, Lyra said softly. Here, the air is calm, and the water is pure. Many humans might not notice its beauty, but you seem to take interest in small details. Eli glanced around. It is beautiful. And you're right, humans do notice details. It's how we learn, how we adapt. We try to see the world as it is, even if it's different from what we expect. Lyra studied him quietly. Different, yes. Perhaps that is why I am curious about you. You make mistakes, yet you seem eager to understand. That is unusual among humans, I hear. Eli felt a warmth in his chest. I try my best. I want to learn, not just about your world, but about how to respect it. Lyra's expression softened slightly. She leaned over the edge of the platform to watch the water ripple below. Humans, you are bold. You admit faults and continue. Perhaps there is merit in this trait after all. Eli nodded. Yes, Princess. Humans do not give up easily. We make mistakes, but we keep trying. And sometimes, that is what makes us strong. Lyra's eyes narrowed, thoughtful. Strength comes in many forms. Perhaps yours is persistence, curiosity, and, strangely, humor. She glanced at him with a faint smirk. Even if it offends me from time to time, Eli chuckled nervously. I promise to be more careful with my humor. I'll leave out embarrassing sketches from now on. The princess tilted her head, clearly amused. We shall see. As they continued walking, Eli noticed a group of Zanari children playing nearby. They laughed and chased each other through the air, their movements almost floating, as if the laws of gravity worked differently for them. Eli took careful notes, observing their behavior, interactions, and laughter. He marveled at how joy could transcend species, how curiosity and play seemed universal. Lyra watched him silently for a while, then spoke. You pay close attention to everything, human. Perhaps that is why you keep your diary, to remember what you notice, to make sense of it all. Eli smiled. Yes, princess. It helps me understand better. And sometimes, it reminds me of lessons I learn along the way. Lyra's eyes softened. Lessons are important, yet, humans often learn from mistakes that could have been avoided. I wonder if your kind will ever stop stumbling. Eli laughed lightly. Maybe not, princess. But every mistake teaches us something new. And sometimes, those mistakes lead to unexpected friendships. Lyra glanced at him, her expression unreadable. Unexpected, yes. Perhaps this is one of those moments. Just then, a small commotion erupted among the children. One of them accidentally kicked a floating orb of light, sending it bouncing toward the platform where Eli and Lyra stood. Eli reacted quickly, catching the orb before it could crash into the water. The children clapped and cheered, and even Lyra allowed a small smile. You see? Eli said softly, even mistakes can be corrected, sometimes with care and quick thinking. Lyra nodded. Perhaps humans are not entirely foolish after all. You have qualities worth noting. Courage, attention, adaptability. Ellie's heart lifted. This was the first real acknowledgement of human ingenuity he had received from Lyra. Thank you, princess. That means a great deal. Lyra looked toward the horizon, where the twin suns were climbing higher. Human, you still have much to learn. But I see promise in you. Promise. And perhaps amusement. Eli chuckled. I'll do my best to provide both. Princess, the rest of the day passed in a mixture of observation, learning, and cautious humor. Eli learned how Zanari music influenced mood, how their plants could heal minor injuries, and how their social hierarchy valued both respect and creativity. Lyra, in turn, observed his patience, his curiosity, and his ability to laugh at himself without causing harm. By evening, as the twin suns began to set, casting long shadows across the gardens, Lyra finally spoke in a gentler tone. Human, I believe your intentions are sincere. Perhaps there's hope for our understanding of one another. But remember, curiosity and humor must be balanced with respect. Fail this, and our connection may falter. I understand, princess, Eli said firmly. I will honor your trust, and I will learn as much as I can. Lyra's expression softened further. Good. For now, I will allow you to continue your observations. But beware, one more diary mishap, and you will face consequences far more serious than embarrassment. Eli bowed. I promise, princess. No more mishaps. As he walked back to the ship later that night, Eli felt a mixture of relief and determination. The day had been exhausting, filled with challenges he hadn't anticipated. But it had also been exhilarating. He had survived cultural misunderstandings, earned a sliver of trust, and discovered that human qualities, curiosity, humor, and empathy could shine even in the presence of an alien princess. He opened his diary carefully, writing down the lessons he had learned. Observe with respect. Humor lightly. Courage matters. Empathy bridges worlds. He paused and added a small, careful sketch of the twin suns reflecting on the lake. No personal sketches this time. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, new tests of patience, understanding, and diplomacy. But Eli knew one thing for certain. Humans had a way of surprising even the most powerful and curious alien minds. And he was ready to prove it, one day, one observation, one careful joke at a time. Eli had never imagined that keeping a simple diary could land him in trouble with an alien princess. But here he was, standing stiffly in the hull of the research ship Aurora, feeling his cheeks heat up as Princess Lyra of Zanara glared at him, holding his private diary in her delicate, lavender-skinned hands. The ship hummed softly beneath them, lights reflecting off the metallic walls. Outside the wide observation windows, the planet Zenara glowed like a jewel emerald forests, turquoise oceans, and cities that shimmered like glass under twin suns. It was beautiful, awe-inspiring, and terrifying, especially now that the ruler's daughter was staring at him as if he had committed a crime. You wrote about my butt? Lyra snapped, her large, violet eyes blazing with both shock and outrage. And in your diary? Eli gulped. His hands twitched, but he dared not reach for the diary. It was entirely her property now. I didn't mean, he stammered. It's just my personal notes, observations. I didn't mean to insult. Lyra's long fingers tightened around the book. She held it as if it weighed a ton. Observations? This is a very personal part of me. How dare you? Ellie's heart pounded. He knew Zenari culture was delicate when it came to personal space and body matters. But he hadn't thought that noting a sketch in his diary would cause this much offense. He had meant it humorously, lightly an innocent human joke. He never imagined it could cause interstellar embarrassment. I really didn't mean anything bad, Eli said, his voice softening. It's just how humans. We sometimes notice things and write them down. It's private. I swear I didn't intend for anyone to see it. Lyra tilted her head, examining him closely. Her sharp gaze softened a fraction, but only slightly. Private? And yet I have it now. You call this privacy? Humans. Your ways are strange. Eli nodded quickly, hoping she would understand. I know, and I respect your feelings. I'll explain everything if you want me to. Please, just don't be angry. Lyra's eyes flicked back to the diary. Explain? How can you explain such human foolishness? She asked. A small, almost mischievous smirk appeared for a brief moment. Then it vanished. HMPH, maybe you are foolish, but perhaps not all humans are bad. Eli blinked. He had expected anger, perhaps a scolding, but not the faint trace of curiosity that now hovered in her expression. Maybe there was a chance to fix the situation. He took a careful step forward, bowing slightly. I promise, Princess Lyra, I meant no disrespect. I admire your culture, your people, and you. My diary is just a record of my thoughts and learning experiences while studying Zenara. I never expected anyone to see it. Lyra raised one elegant eyebrow. Admire, you say? HMPH, we shall see if your admiration matches your words. Eli swallowed hard. He had learned that in alien cultures, actions often spoke louder than words. Perhaps this was the moment to prove he was sincere not through talking, but through understanding. Meanwhile, the crew of the Aurora tried to stay out of the princess's line of sight. Humans in Zenari had maintained peaceful contact for decades, but social faux pas still happened. In Ellie's case, it seemed catastrophic. Lyra flipped through the diary, her eyes scanning the sketches and notes. Eli tried not to peek, though his curiosity burned. The diary was a mix of careful observations, sketches of alien flora, and notes on customs. And yes, there was a small, humorous sketch of her from a particular angle. Something Eli had never meant anyone to see. This is what humans do, Lyra asked, her tone a mixture of disbelief and mild amusement. You draw people in private? And sometimes write about things you should not? Eli nodded, trying to smile. Yes, but it's not meant to harm. It's part of how humans think. We notice everything, and we sometimes make jokes about what we see. That's all. No offense intended. Lyra narrowed her eyes, then let out a sharp sigh. HMPH, I suppose there is a difference between intention and action, even if humans are. Strange. Eli felt a small surge of hope. Perhaps he could turn this embarrassment into an opportunity for trust. Princess Lyra, if you allow me, I'd like to show you the rest of my research. It's about your planet, its plants, its culture, its history. I've learned so much, and I respect it all. I got carried away with a silly human habit. Lyra looked at him, considering. Then, in a voice that was both commanding and curious, she said, Very well. You may explain. But first, tell me, why did you draw me this way? Eli felt his stomach twist. He had to be honest. Because you are remarkable. I noticed the way your posture reflects your confidence. I didn't mean to mock. I was impressed. Humans sometimes notice things differently in ways we don't always say out loud. That was all. Lyra blinked slowly. Then, to Ellie's surprise, she laughed. A soft, melodic sound that echoed through the hall. Humans are truly audacious to notice such things and call it admiration. HMPH, perhaps you are not as foolish as I thought. Eli breathed a small sigh of relief. This was a first step, not complete trust, but an opening. Thank you, Princess. That means more than I can say. Lyra's eyes softened a little more. You will need to earn my full trust, human. Words are easy, actions much harder. She held up the diary. I will keep this for now. Perhaps it will remind you to be careful in your human ways. Eli nodded vigorously. Yes, Princess. I understand. With a sweep of her hand, Lyra gestured toward the observation deck. Come, you will explain your research while I watch. If your intentions are true, your work will show it. As they walked, Eli stole a glance at the planet below. Its forests stretched endlessly, rivers glittered, and mountains rose majestically. In that moment, he realized something important. Understanding a world and a culture required more than observation. It required humility, courage, and a willingness to learn from mistakes. He smiled nervously at Lyra. I hope I can make you see that humans. We try to understand. Sometimes we fail, but we try. Lyra's expression was unreadable. We shall see, human. We shall see. Inside, Eli felt a strange mix of fear and excitement. He had never expected a diary to become the key to interstellar diplomacy, nor had he imagined that an alien princess would become a direct part of his studies. And yet, here he was, walking beside Lyra, hoping that humor, honesty, and a little human courage would be enough to survive and maybe even impress the princess. When they reached the observation deck, Eli carefully laid out his research charts, models of alien flora, and holographic maps of Zanara cities. Lyra watched intently, occasionally tapping a clawed finger on a model or tilting her head to ask sharp questions. Interesting, she said finally. You humans, you see details. You notice patterns we might miss. Perhaps there is merit in your ways, after all. Eli allowed himself a small smile. Thank you, Princess. That means a lot coming from you. For a moment, the tension lifted. The diary incident, though awkward, had opened a door. A bridge had begun to form between two very different species, founded on curiosity, honesty, and a shared love of learning. Lyra closed the diary and handed it back, not in anger, but in a way that suggested she was willing to forgive. For now, keep your diary safe, human, and perhaps, next time, leave out the sketches about my body. Eli chuckled nervously. Yes, Princess. Lesson learned. As the twin sons of Zanara cast their golden glow across the observation deck, Eli realized that this was only the beginning. Friendship, understanding, and respect would not come easily. But humans were made for challenges, and he was ready to face them.